Nike Zoom Vaporflies. Cheating or not cheating? This is Immersive Sports Science, not bro science. If you see any more videos like this, subscribe, smash that bell. You can find me on TikTok as Immersive Health and Fitness. Go over to Instagram for the Immersive Sports Science experience. If you're looking for personal training, head off to Twitter and Facebook. The IAAF, or former IAAF, now the World Athletics Association, have decided to meet in order to review a particular trainer to whether it's performance enhancing or not. Now the argument being is that the Nike Zoom Vaporflies offer an unfair advantage. In other words, they are performance enhancing.
A modified version of the Vaporflies were utilised by Eliud Kipchoge in his 1 hour 59-minute run. The shoe is really unique as it is so light it allows for a massive stack height.
One of the key features of this shoe is the foam. It's particularly light and that allows the shoe to be made particularly thick. We believe there's even thicker shoes out there as well, and with the current rules they could be made thicker again. That thick foam can deform a lot, store lots of energy and then return lots of energy as well. The other key feature is this full-length carbon plate, which you can see here. Yes. That adds stiffness to the length of the shoe. It allows the athlete to have greater leverage and also stiffens the front of the shoe, allows them to run more efficiently.
Eliud referred to running with these trainers as like running on trampoline. They are incredibly springy and offer a lot of force that goes into the actual track. Now, Nike claims that the shoe is able to make you 4% more efficient at running. A study by the New York Times followed 1 million racers who wore the shoe, found out that their performances were 5% faster.
But that's based on the average. So the average of the runners in the cohort in the study. And actually some runners may have had little to no advantage, and other runners may have had more advantage. There's a complex interaction between the shoe and the athlete, and that's really hard to understand. We don't know the individual effects of the individual features, and we need to do much more research before we make drastic changes to the rules.
And it's kind of been compared to the swimming suits of the past, being given an unnatural advantage beyond what is naturally capable of the body, whatever that may be and however you may perceive that to be. I think when we look at these subjects, we can end up risking looking at it through a pinhole perspective, based upon our own emotions, and we have to take those emotions to the side and evaluate it from a whole holistic perspective. A key thing to talk about here is what does classify as being unfair. Now in WADA they have 3 principles, that being a paternalistic principle, protecting the athlete from doping, and if you like, this is being referred to as mechanical doping. Now what's different between mechanical doping and normal doping in terms of paternalism? There is no perceived psychological or physical harm taken towards the athlete, so therefore you can't utilize that argument necessarily. Sometimes what we have to do is protect the athlete from themselves, and that the behaviors the athlete takes can be damaging from themselves from a social perspective. Now the other 2 arguments goes against the idea of fairness. What is fairness? And now I personally think these next 2 arguments are quite fallacious arguments. Some people may disagree. It all matter of objective opinion. Unfair in that it gives the person an advantage that's beyond their natural capabilities. That's point 1. Point 2. Now this goes to a question of what do you classify as being fair? And what does fairness even mean? And fairness is not justice. They're completely 2 different concepts. Fairness in sport would be everyone on a level playing field, but genetically that is not the case. Sport in itself is naturally unfair. You could argue it'd be like having Usain Bolt having a handicap in the 100 meters. So your understanding of everyone having the same equipment, not beyond the needs. Some countries will have more money to spend on it, and the argument some people are saying is that we should allow development technology because it makes us connect as a human species. Others believe that innovation and equipment has already been an integral and inevitable part of sporting performance evaluation and success. Take for instance the one 1 hour 59-minute marathon by Eliud Kipchoge. It's also taken on the understand of historic proportions. We often compare these events to landing on the moon and great human endeavours that we've all joined together to succeed and achieve what people can do when they connect with one another to achieve a goal rather than against one another. And that other manufacturers are developing their own technologies, and that records may generate interest in the sport and people reconnect the sport and when they want to be in that sport because they see the interest, they see what's happening and they want to be in there. And that's quite an interesting point. For instance, we look at strongman as an example. Everyone knows these guys are doping, and yet they watch these sports, and the rate of these sports are growing in popularity.
The same people might say, well, why don't you allow doping? Because that can be accessible to everybody, and if it doesn't harm them, then why can't they just do doping? And some people have suggested that the shoe issue right now is a form of mechanical doping. The definition of cheating is doing something to deliberately gain an unfair advantage. Why are we doing our sport? Are we doing it purely for performance, or is it for the competition of person against person? If it's about competition, person against person, then the need for a level playing field is exemplified.
The third point is the spirit of the sport, or the integrity of the sport. Now, what does that actually mean? From a philosophical understanding, will differ from each individual depending on how they perceive life and their own sense of reality. When you have a doping law and policy, people will try and get around that doping law and policy. And what you end up seeing is the reason why people find the integrity of a sport damaged is because people try to get around that sport and they create a controversy. Now, in sports like powerlifting and strongman, you don't have this controversy because there is very little rules around doping, and therefore this controversy cannot exist.
However, if we allow doping of any kind, mechanical or otherwise, this may promote the normality of doping, and this will have a negative impact upon society and life. Now, Nike currently hold the 5 fastest times in history, but yet again, they also have the 4th fastest athletes in marathon men's history. The Nike Vaporfly was used in all 5 runs.
And Nike, as well alongside ASICS, has pumped a lot of money into athletics itself. As a result, they've been given, probably some would argue problematically, given a World Athletics Championship in Oregon to hold. World Athletics want to see like their anti-mechanical doping, but they don't want to piss off Nike in the process or piss off people who are pro-progress. They're talking about rules restricting the thickness of a shoe. The soles, although there will be announcements on new longer-term studies, biomechanicals and biometrical studies taking place. So this technology may be existent, it may not be. It has to depend on what the science states. And we don't have a clear picture on science. Most of the science we've seen is mostly from Nike or based around Nike projects. So watch this space. All shoes must be available to every competitor, regardless of who they're being sponsored by. And this must be done in the universality of athletics. Clearly the universality of athletics don't take in the case of trademarking and sponsorships, but that's an interesting one. That's one what we would have to get round. Share designs, which is going to be slightly problematic for their point of view, but great for us as an athlete. Current rules state that shoes must be constructed so as to not give athletes an unfair advantage. And any type of shoe used must be reasonably available to all in the spirit of the sport. The question remains, what does spirit of the sport even mean? It's very vague.
In April, the World Athletics Association published laws that dictate or limit what kind of shoes can be used and worn.
Now the question I'm going to state is, what do you guys think? If you whack down in the comments below, is it mechanical doping? Is it not doping? Should it be used in Tokyo 2020? Should it not be used beyond Tokyo 2020? This is Immersive Sports Science. Sports science, not bro science. If you want any more information, smash that bell.